Good morning, all. This meeting is called to order. Has anybody signed up for public comment?
Thank you.
We have one comment that would like to address the commission on agenda item 10. However,
Thank you so much. Morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
No cases to reconsider under agenda item 3.
Correct, no cases.
Under agenda item 4, there are 2 tax cases on docket 18.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. That's correct. There are 2 tax liability cases on docket 18. The first case is TD-23-012-0523, Commissioner Esparza.
First, I'd like to thank TWC staff, including the tax department, for all the hard work they put in on this important case. I believe that with multiple hearings that we've have more than enough evidence to reach a decision without the need for further proceedings. I also want to emphasize that we must respond to the evolution of our workforce to support low regulatory and successful and support the successful environment, economic environment here in the state of Texas. I'd emphasize this. We've not seen many cases involving the marketplace contractor rule since its adoption in 2019. So the ones we do serve in a way that's precedents and guides for similar cases in the future. Therefore, concerning the merits of the case, I disagree with the staff recommendation rule that medical professionals are not in employment under the marketplace contractor rule. Situations in this case meet the requirement that the pay be job or transaction based because workers are definitely in control of which shift they bid for and thus choose the timing of the work and the number of hours involved. Thus, when they bid for a job, they foresee a total pay amount that is both the inducement of their, for their bid and the equivalent of job-based rate. The fact that they may earn extra pay if the job demands extra time is secondary in a situation like this, since it is well known that outside contractors often bill extra amounts for extra time spent on client work. Just ask anyone who uses a plumber or CPA if they ever have to pay extra if the work turns out to demand extra time or issues arise that may cause trouble to overcome. For this reason, it's my position that the requirement related to hourly pay does not apply to a situation in which a company is not telling a worker when to work, worker is in charge of which shift at which client to bid for. And the worker chooses an entire shift on the assumption that the shift will result in a particular amount of money. Regarding tools, materials, or equipment, even doctors, dentists, and other top-level medical professionals who are independent contractors use certain machines that are literally fixtures within medical facilities and are there due to health and safety requirements. Such usage does not make them into employees of those facilities. Medical professionals in this case supply their own basic equipment, and they would not be permitted by either the clients or the Texas Health and Safety Code to supply anything beyond that. Put another way, the criterion of the rule does not apply to equipment that no one except for a licensed healthcare facility would be legally able to provide or furnish. Accordingly, I find that the evidence in this case supports a conclusion that the workers in question are covered under the marketplace contractor rule and are not in employment.
Thank you. Commissioner Trevino
Agree with staff's recommendation.
and Chairman Daniel.
I concur with Commissioner Esparza.
Commissioner Trevino, would you like to dissent?
Thank you.
All right. The second case is TD-24-003-0124, Commissioner Esparza.
Agree with staff recommendation to extend the due date for the tax payments and abate the interest on the late payment tax.
Commissioner Trevino
Agree with staff's recommendation.
and Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. That concludes tax liability cases.
All right, no fair housing cases, no child labor cases, under wage claim cases. We have no wage claim cases on docket 18 pulled for additional discussion.
That's correct. None pulled for discussion, but you should have received the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 18.
I move to accept staff recommendations on remaining wage claim cases on docket 18.
I second the motion except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected in wage claim short form dissent list for docket 18.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 18.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Let's move now to agenda item 8, consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 18. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 3311003, Commissioner Trevino.
As we have previously voted, the claimant filed a timely petition to reopen, and the claimant established good cause for his failure to appear at the AT2 and AT1. Based on the evidence on the record, the claimant should not be disqualified from the receipt of benefits. The claimant was discharged for excessive tardiness during his probationary period. Yet the claimant was an exempt employee who did not clock in or out, and the claimant was never given a specific verbal or written warning to put him on notice that arriving late to work was something that could place his job in jeopardy. Without such notice, the claimant's occasional late arrival did not constitute misconduct connected with the work. Grant MR, claimant filed a timely petition to reopen. Claimant established good cause for AT2 and AT1, no misconduct, bill the reimbursing employer, void adequate response.
We previously voted to grant the claimant motion for a hearing. Also, the commission ruled that the claimant's petition to reopen was timely. The claimant established good cause for mission AT2 and AT1 hearings. Concerning the job separations, although the claimant was aware that the employer's attendance guidelines, the claimant was terminated when he was excessively tardy during his probationary period. Since the claimant was aware of the employer's expectations, his continued and repeated attendance infractions constituted mismanagement of his position of employment. As such, we should grant the claimant's motion for a hearing. Timely R16 petition to reopen. Claimant established good cause for missing AT2 and AT1 hearings, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, sever adequate employer response.
Grant the MR timely petition to reopen, claimant established good cause for AT2 and AT1, no misconduct, reimbursing employer billed, void adequate response ruling.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3521016, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. While the claimant filed a late appeal to the initial determinations, the determinations in this case were void from the inception, and therefore timeliness sanctions should not apply. The claimant informed the commission on December of 2022 that she was unable to work beginning 10/29 of 22 due to her pregnancy, and that she was released to return to work shortly after giving birth in mid-December. The commission then issued a determination that mistakenly held the claimant unable to work beginning January 2nd of 2022, which was over 10 months prior to the claimant's actual inability to work. This mistake also resulted in the erroneous overpayment of nearly $10,000. These substantial errors in the determinations make them void from inception. Therefore, we should set aside the AT decision, void the ability and overpayment determinations, and send a memo to have the actual dates of the claimant's inability to work investigated.
We should affirm the AT decision. On the timeliness of the claimant's appeal, although the claimant was sent and viewed the determination within the appeal period, claimant filed her appeal after the appeal deadline. Since there are no good cause exceptions to the timeliness rules, we should hold the claimant's appeal as late. Concerning the ability issue, commission can assume jurisdiction 14 days prior to the date of the late appeal and can close the ineligibility the week ending January 28th of 2023. Affirm the AT decision, untimely claimant appeal, ability not eligible from January 2nd, 2022 through January 28th, 2023, overpayment.
Timely claimant appeal, claimant not able to work November 20th, 2022 through December 24th, 2022, recalculate overpayment.
Ms. Miller, we're going to agree with the chair.
Thank you, sir.
A short form dissent.
Short form dissent, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3524358, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision is not supportable. The employer's witness was prepared to register for the hearing and participate, but unfortunately was interrupted by an important call from the district attorney's office at local time. By the time she was finished with that, she was past the hearing time. Dealing with law enforcement related call was an understandable distraction. Regarding the other issues, the employer discussed a work separation that would result in chargeback protection for the company, but the hearing officer did not ask the employer about the timeliness of the protest. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision. The employer had a good cause to miss the first hearing, rehear on timeliness of the employer's protest.
The AT decision is correct. The employer missed the AT1 hearing and provided inconsistent statements regarding their failure to appear at the hearing. The employer's witness did not establish that they were prevented from participating in the hearing by circumstances beyond their control. Therefore, the employer did not show good cause for reopening the hearing. The available record shows that the employer filed a late response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. Affirmed the AT, employer did not have good cause for AT1. Late response to notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
Employer established good cause for AT1 remand.
We have a majority vote that good cause was established. We need to establish majority on where the rehearing, the next hearing will occur. A rehearing, Commissioner Esparza will put the hearing in Commission Appeals, and Mr. Chairman, a remand will put the hearing at the appeal tribunal level.
1 second. I'll concur with the chairman on the
Thank you. We'll rehear the case. It'll go back to the appeal tribunal.
remand.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank
Remand
you.
to the appeal tribunal. And this will involve a decision being mailed. Do you wish to dissent?
Yes, I'll short form dissent.
Thank you, sir.
Case number 3547046, Commissioner Esparza.
We should reverse the AT decision concerning good cause. The employer missed the AT hearing because they're located in the Mountain Time Zone and called in late. Commission precedent has held that if a party resides in a different time zone and calls in at the correct time in their own time zone, the party establishes good cause for its non-appearance. Since the employer called in correct time for the respective time zone, we should find that the employer established good cause for missing the AT1, continue its hearing, and resubmit the case for merits testimony.
The decision is correct. The employer failed to establish that they had good cause for missing the AT1 continuance, as the employer failed to carefully read the hearing notice, which required them to register an hour earlier due to the time difference. The employer had participated in the prior hearing at the correct time and admitted that they had forgot about the time difference for the continuance. Thus, the employer missed the hearing for circumstances within their own control. Regarding the job separation, the employer failed to provide any direct evidence establishing that the claimant was late in paying invoices and taxes. The claimant provided sworn testimony denying the employer's allegations against her, and the claimant never received any warning about her job performance. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirmed the AT, employer did not establish good cause for missing the AT1 continuance, no misconduct, chargeback.
Employer established good cause for AT1 resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3562902, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. Though the claimant initially misread the hearing instructions, she figured out her mistake and made a good faith effort to participate in the hearing by calling in 3 minutes after the hearing start time. She was not allowed to participate in the hearing because she was kept on hold until 7 minutes after the hearing start time. Therefore, the claimant has established good cause for her failure to appear at the prior hearing. Modify the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, resubmit. However, if it is determined that the claimant did not establish good cause for her failure to appear at AT1, The available evidence does not establish that the claimant should be disqualified. The claimant worked for the employer for less than 2 months and was never able to meet the employer's performance expectations. Therefore, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Modify the AT. Claimant did not establish good cause for AT1. No misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
We should modify the AT decision concerning good cause. Although the claimant timely received the AT hearing package, she failed to attend because she did not read the hearing instructions and failed to register. Since commission precedent had long held that misreading the hearing notice does not provide party with good cause, we should find that the claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT hearing. Concerning the job separation, although the claimant was provided repeated coaching and was placed on a performance improvement plan, the claimant continuously failed to perform essential functions of her position, which were rudimentary in nature. Accordingly, the claimant's conduct constituted misconduct connected with the work. As such, we should modify the AT decision. The claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT hearing. Misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
Claimant establish good cause for AT1, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3581759, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. On 3/24/23, the claimant reported to his supervisor that he needed some time off because his house was vandalized. The claimant notified his supervisor that he would return to work on 3/29/23, and his supervisor approved his request for the time off. However, the employer then discharged the claimant for job abandonment on 3/28/23. The employer did not appear at the hearing to refute the claimant's credible firsthand testimony that he had been approved to return to work on 3/29/23. Therefore, the claimant did not abandon the job, and the employer discharged the claimant for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct.
We should affirm the AT decision. Claimant provided multiple inconsistent statements regarding the reason for his absences and his actions while addressing the Windows issue. This makes the claimant's testimony less credible and persuasive. By not maintaining contact with the employer and not returning to work on agreed upon date, claimant is considered to have quit without good cause connected with the work. We should affirm the AT decision of voluntary leaving.
Voluntary leaving.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3595868, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. The claimant asked for assistance, and his supervisor responded by yelling at the claimant in front of other employees in a humiliating and unprofessional manner. Instead of responding in kind, the claimant walked away and called a senior superintendent to avoid escalating the incident. The claimant was sent home and was told that he would receive a call. When he was not called, the claimant reported to work the next day to clarify his job status and was discharged. The employer did not appear at the hearing, but their response to the commission indicated that the claimant was laid off. As the claimant was reprimanded in an unprofessional manner after making a reasonable request for assistance, and then made attempts to clarify his job status, and was told that he no longer had a job, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should affirm the AT decision. While the claimant may have had a legitimate complaint, by leaving work without providing the employer a reasonable opportunity to address his concern, claimant is considered to have quit without good cause connected with work. We should affirm the AT decision of voluntary leaving, also no chargeback.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3600097, Commissioner Esparza.
We should reverse the AT decision. The claimant was discharged after the employer learned that he had basically wiped out and erased a week's worth of data from the employer's accounting system. Claimant did this without authorization and without notifying his manager or coworkers. who also use the system. The employer's witnesses established that the employees were informed that making requests to the IT department required management approval. By disregarding the consequences of his actions and wiping out 160 hours of accounting department work, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employee response.
The decision is supportable. The employer discharged the claimant for taking actions to attempt to correct an error, which led to a temporary data loss. Despite working to the best of his abilities, the claimant was never able to consistently meet the employer's performance expectations during his relatively short period of employment. Therefore, the claimant's inability to perform the work to the employer's satisfaction does not constitute misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3602292, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged for insubordination due to arguing with the supervisor. However, the claimant provided credible and consistent testimony that he merely asked his supervisor questions about a schedule change that was announced. The claimant denied the allegations that he argued with or threatened his supervisor, and the employer did not appear at the hearing to provide testimony or provide a response to the commission when the claimant filed his claim. An employee asking reasonable questions about changes to their work schedule does not constitute insubordination, and the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct.
The AT decision is fully supportable. Claimant was fired for arguing with the supervisor in front of coworkers. Thus, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should affirm the AT decision of misconduct.
No misconduct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. And that was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for additional discussion on docket 18. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 18.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 18.
I second the motion except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 18.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting is reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 18.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of agenda items 1 through 8. We'll take a short recess. Go. So agenda item 9, proposed rules for 40 Text Chapter 809 Child Care Services.
Mic check.
Okay.
There we go.
For the record, Allison Wilson with Child Care and Early Learning. Before you today for your consideration are proposed rule amendments to Chapter 809 Child Care Services. These proposed amendments include changes to align with the new Child Care and Development Fund final rule, the addition of children with disabilities as a priority population for contracted slots, and changes to the Texas Rising Star program based on the program's four-year review as required by state statute. The Texas Rising Star changes were informed by the work of a stakeholder work group consisting of childcare providers, childcare professional organizations, local board staff, state agency representatives, and early childhood advocates. In addition, we solicited public input on the work group recommendations through in-person and virtual public meetings, email outreach, and by posting the recommendations and information about the review on TWC's website. Based on the input of the work group and the public, the following recommendations were incorporated into the proposed rule amendments. First, the addition of a provision to allow Texas Rising Star certified providers to retain certification for up to 6 months if the program undergoes a facility change and is issued an initial permit from Child Care Regulation. This will help support continuity of quality when programs undergo changes such as ownership changes, while still maintaining high standards of accountability. Affected programs will be assessed within 3 months of the facility change. Second is a modification of the Child Care Regulation licensing history review period to reduce that from 12 months to 6 months. This change acknowledges that programs can correct most licensing issues with a shorter time period and lessens the impact for those that do. And third, the rule amendments include clarification that an entry-level designated provider may receive new referrals if it is determined that the provider's licensing history will meet certification criteria by the end of the 24-month entry-level period. This change addresses an unintended consequence of the rule as written and supports stable access to childcare subsidies at providers that are on a path to high quality. Staff recommends submitting the proposed rule for publication in the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period. Staff also requests the ability to make minor non-substantive changes to the document to comply with publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Secretary of State. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 809, Child Care Services for publication for public comment as recommended today by staff.
Second.
It's been moved second, motion carries. So agenda item 10, proposed revisions, Texas Rising Star guidelines.
Again, for the record, Allison Wilson with Child Care and Early Learning. Today for your consideration is the draft Texas Rising Star guidelines. The draft changes to the guidelines are also based on the Texas Rising Star 4-year review and align with proposed rule amendments as discussed on the prior agenda item. These changes include the following. For entry-level designation, staff recommends reducing the points threshold for licensing deficiencies from 75 to 40 to align with the rule change that reduces the licensing review period from 12 months to 6 months. The points threshold will continue to only include deficiencies that are weighted high or medium high, recognizing that lower weighted deficiencies are more often tied to paperwork errors and may not reflect the level of quality. Second, we also recommend changing the eligibility criteria for new Texas Rising Star providers to modify the specific licensing deficiencies that prevent a program from being eligible for initial certification by reducing them from 12 to 4. The 4 specified deficiencies that will remain relate to background checks and abuse neglect, which we heard broad consensus for maintaining. Also recommending that with the reduction in the specific licensing deficiencies as noted, we recommend adding a new points threshold of 25 based on a look-back period of 6 months. This change will align Texas Rising Star eligibility with the points-based approach in place for entry-level designation that looks only at high and medium high-weighted deficiencies. Third, for Texas Rising Star certified providers, we also recommend changes to the impact of licensing deficiencies to align with the new 6-month look-back period, revising the specific licensing deficiencies that have an impact, and use of a points-based approach that only considers high and medium high-weighted licensing deficiencies. These changes will continue to support the use of probationary periods to allow certified providers the opportunity to recover from licensing issues and demonstrate they are maintaining quality. Finally, staff recommends modifying the list of TWC recognized national accreditations to include all Department of Defense recognized accrediting entities. This change will support more efficient assessment of programs that have recognized high-quality designations. That concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Preliminary questions for Allison. We have a public commenter. Anything real quick, Allison? She's gonna come back.
No questions.
All right.
No question.
Let's move to public comment.
Jewel Patricio with the Office of General Counsel. We have one commenter, Allison May, who signed up for a comment on this item.
Chairman Daniel and members of the commission, my name is Allison May with KinderCare Learning Companies, speaking on behalf of our 100 quality early learning centers across Texas, serving over 9,000 children daily, 60% of whom participate in the Child Care Services or CCS program. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on Agenda Item 10, Texas Rising Star 4-year review. We appreciate TWC's commitment to ongoing rulemaking to improve the TRS system to ensure families served by CCS receive measurable, high-quality early learning experiences. The new requirement to the TRS Level 2 in order to serve families through subsidy has gone well for the vast majority of our centers. However, we have concerns around specific centers not receiving the TRS supports and consistent direction needed to improve quality and provide the continuity of care that families and communities are seeking. The TRS rulemaking process will be critical for addressing the current challenges, and we believe is a step in the right direction. Specifically, we applaud the draft rule that will modify the licensing lookback from 12 to 6 months, which provides a more accurate reflection of a center's licensing history. We look forward to robust engagement in this process ahead, and thank you for considering the draft rules before you today.
Right, I think that's it for public comment. Allison? Any comments, questions?
None
Is there a
here.
motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the revisions to the Texas Rising Star guidelines for public comment as recommended today by staff.
I second.
Been moved to second, motion carries. Thank you. This is agenda item 11, selection decisions for the adult education and literacy core provider request.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, I'm James Golson, Workforce Development Division. Rider 46, the General Appropriations Act of the 86th Texas Legislature requires that AEL grant awards be reviewed and approved by TWC's commissioners prior to notification of award to the grant recipient. For your approval this morning, we are bringing forward the selection decision for Adult Education and Literacy Core Provider Limited Counties RFA, AFLA Section 231, which supports core AEL service delivery across the state. Staff reviewed 4 eligible applicants and today are recommending 3 as winners for a total award of $2,211,367. Although we would like to note that award amounts and county coverages could be adjusted during award formation to ensure federally required statewide coverage. Staff are also bringing forward for review and approval the final group of awardees for AEL core provider AFLA Section 243, which supports integrated English literacy and civics education for English language learners. Staff reviewed 30 eligible applicants and selected 12 as grantees. 9 were presented at the April 16 Commission meeting. Today, staff recommend 3 additional winners from our original core provider 243 competition for a total award of $912,209 for those 3. We'd be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve 3 grant awards for Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, Section 231, provider activities totaling $2,211,367, and 3 grant awards for Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, Section 243, provider activities totaling $912,209 as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
A second.
It's been moved second, motion carries. This is agenda item 12, final rules for 40 Tech, Chapter 811 choices.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Serna. For the record, I'm Joel Mullins with the Workforce Development Division. In an open meeting on February 20th, 2024, the Commission approved proposed amendments to TWC's Chapter 811 rules to update rule language to conform with present terminology and update definitions to conform with federal statute and regulations. The proposed rule amendments were published in the March 8th issue of the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period, and no comments were received. Staff recommends adopting the amendments to Chapter 811 as presented here today. Additionally, staff requests the ability to make minor non-substantive changes to the document in order to comply with the publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Office of the Secretary of State. This concludes my remarks and happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Sir, motion.
I move that we approve the adoption of amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 811 choices as recommended today by staff.
I second.
Been moved second, motion carries. This is agenda item 13, final rules for 40 Tech, Chapter 843 job matching services.
Right. Again, for the record, I'm Joel Mullins with Workforce Division. In an open meeting on February 20th, 2024, the Commission approved proposed amendments to TWC's Chapter 843 rules to expand the categories of eligibility for military employment preference to align with Texas Government Code Chapter 657 as amended by Senate Bill 1376 from the 88th Texas Legislative Session. The proposed rule amendments were published in the March 8th issue of the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period, and no comments were received. Additionally, staff conducted a 4-year rule review of Chapter 843 in accordance with Texas Government Code and determined that the initial reasons for adopting the chapter still exist and that the chapter is still needed. Staff recommends adopting the amendments to Chapter 843 as presented here today, and also requests the ability to make minor non-substantive changes to the document in order to comply with the publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Office of the Secretary of State. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Sir, motion.
Chairman, I move that we approve the adoption of amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 843, job matching services as recommended today by staff.
I second.
It's been moved second, motion carries. This is agenda item
Thank you.
14, apprenticeship training program, pre-apprenticeship funding, fiscal year 2025.
Morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Serna. For the record, Carrie Ballast, Workforce Development Division. For your consideration today are the fiscal year 2025 planning estimates for the apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship training programs. Each year, the Texas Workforce Investment Council makes recommendations under the Chapter 133 Apprenticeship Training Program. The fiscal year 25 recommendations are listed in your notebook materials. So for today, Commission decision points for FY25 are as follows. A contact hour rate not to exceed $4.25 for apprenticeship training programs. A 5% reserve for new programs or established programs not currently receiving funds. A rate not to exceed $2,000 per participant in a pre-apprenticeship training programs, and planning estimates as detailed in your notebook materials for FY25 as contingent upon adoption of TWC's FY25 operating budget. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
The registered apprenticeship program in Texas has grown over 115% in the last 10 years. It has gone from just over 4,000 apprentices and 764,798 contact hours in 2014 to over 9,000 apprentices and over 1,742,828 contact hours in 2024. During that time frame, the general revenue funding for that program only increased 20%. It's crucial to follow the TWIC recommendations on contact hour rates as emphasized by many programs. TWC has previously used federal funding to support this, but now with all programs expanding and new industries promoting apprenticeships, we need to rethink our funding approach. The current staff proposal does not meet the projected expansion, creating a shortfall of $4,322,524 compared to the needed funds for fiscal year 2025. The apprenticeship programs is still projected to grow by 14.5% in fiscal year 2026, with a similar increase anticipated for fiscal year 2027. This highlights the urgent need for extra funding to reach the target contact hour rate of $4 per hour. Concludes my comment.
Want to make a request, looking at lines 17 through 24, and as I understand it, the total GR that we're asking is this is only for the fiscal year 25 is 7.3 million. I'm looking at 3.6 and 3.6 between 17 and 24. And adopting the proposal here maintains that we're basically not exceeding 4.25 in contract hourly rate, correct? I'm asking, yeah, right. I think I'm trying to make sure that I understand this correctly. In this case, I just wanted to make sure that that we noted that the GR number in both that, because I think it was split. I just wanted to make sure I combined it, and we maintain tracking of that. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make sure that was.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I have one question. If funding for pre-apprenticeship is not fully expended, can that be used for the apprenticeship training program in the same fiscal year?
Yes, sir. It can.
And does the pre-apprentice, does this money roll over fiscal year to fiscal year, and does it roll over biennium to biennium? I mean, we haven't really had that problem, right? But just
right,
fiscal year?
Fiscal year, yes.
Okay. All right. All right, is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the fiscal year 2025 apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship training program funding parameters and planning estimates as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff, and ask the staff to research ways to supplement funding pending the approval of the fiscal year 2025 budget.
I second that.
All right. So that's the motion. It's been seconded. With regard to your request for staff to research ways to fill any potential shortfalls, I want to go on record at this point saying we need to have a fairly robust discussion leading into our LAR discussions with regard to an exceptional item for this. I think the demand's certainly there. I think we're seeing expansion here, and I will say when the legislature sets a dollar amount, there is part of me that feels like when we sort of supplement that in an aggressive way, there's some legislative intent issues that I get a little bit concerned about. I'd like to engage the legislature in a solid conversation about this via the appropriations process. So when we get to that point in the program, which is what, Chris, July, August, when will we do that? So July, August timeframe, I think when we come back into open meeting, I hope we're able to have a good discussion about what that legislative appropriation request really ought to be. And I hope that there will be support for an exceptional item at that time to increase that money. I think there's a really fair case to be made here for increasing that money, particularly if we continue to do some program administration things that continue to strengthen the program. So having said that, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment?
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with the chair and look forward to that discussion happening.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree. I support the chairman. Also, our second to the research is admirable for our labor, but I definitely want to make sure that we're within our lines of our legislative intent budget. Thank you.
All right, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 15, apprenticeship training program and funding parameters pursuant to Texas Education Code, chapter 133.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Carrie Ballast, Workforce Development Division. As requested at the April 1, 2024 meeting, staff had completed an evaluation of Texas Education Code, Chapter 133 Apprenticeship Training Program for its effectiveness and efficiency. And we have made recommendations for any changes which might increase its effectiveness and efficiency. Staff have completed an evaluation and after identifying challenges experienced under the current program, offer recommendations to sustain the Chapter 133 program for future years. Those challenges and recommendations are listed in your notebook materials. At this time, staff seek direction on the recommendations listed in the discussion paper. That concludes my remarks. Happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
As mentioned earlier, it's crucial to follow TWC's recommendation for the contact hour rate, but additional funding is needed to sustain the $4 rate. Although the performance measures introduced by the commission in August of 2023 improved the quality of apprenticeship programs, I aim to ensure that any changes to the rewarding method do not inadvertently show bias towards or against a specific industry or program. The apprenticeship program is expected to experience, as I said, a 14.5% growth in fiscal year 26, with a comparable rise anticipated for fiscal year 27. To meet the LLB target for fiscal year 25, it's necessary to increase funding to sustain the $4 per hour contact rate. So before proceeding with awarding contracts based on performance, I would like to request that staff analyze and present the following. Identify the industries most affected by the change in awarding contracts, including those likely to receive awards and those likely to miss out. 2, to assess the geographical impact of these awards across the state. And 3, to determine whether program longevity and experience will influence the performance-based awarding method. I can repeat that if you need to, Ed.
I think we
Okay.
Just one point of clarification, if I may. So are all these bullet points under the decision points, are they separate decisions? Or
We listed them as separate. I
Okay.
could see how 1 or 2 may work together, but.
okay,
that's-
so if contracting process is described 874, so bullet point 2 was approved. Which is added funding at some point, and additional funding would reduce the need for a competitive procurement process in 3, so it would affect point 3. I'm trying to find out if adopting 2 would basically eliminate, or I'm sorry, adopting 2 would lessen the need for 3. I'm trying to figure out, once again, I'm confused here. I want to make sure that it's not all or we piecemealing out. So at this point,
Yes, sir.
But I would say that this is how I read that. All right. So I don't, no offense, I don't think this is perfect. I mean, if I was doing this unilaterally, there would be some things I would do different, but I think staff has struck upon, I think, a fairly decent compromise for a lot of things that have to happen. I think if I'm understanding your question, would more money get rid of the need to have a more competitive procurement process because we'd have more money? And I think just listening to staff and understanding the program over the years, I think in some ways those are related, but I think in some other ways they're looking for 2 things simultaneously. They'd like to do more apprenticeship assistants. I do too. And then I think they would like to ensure that the ones that are getting done are the very best that can be done, regardless of kind of what industry it's in. There's some really established ones, electricians being one, plumbing's got a great one. And there's some newer ones that are coming online that the 5% or 10%, 5% holdback really doesn't seem adequate for, but they can be really good. Like just because you're new doesn't mean you're not as good, and just because you've been around for 15 years doesn't mean you're doing it the best. So I kind of perceive kind of yeah, they're related, but I kind of perceive staff's trying to accomplish two different things here. Don't ever let me put words in your mouth. If you disagree with me, say so. You keep nodding, but I hope that means that I read what you wrote right. But you know, I think just because we got more money, I'm not necessarily sure staff intends to abandon kind of I won't say a stronger enforcement, but a more project-based enforcement of kind of what we're trying to what we're trying to do here.
Right. If I may, Chairman, I do believe the conversation about the funding is essential, and I'm glad to hear you'll take it back up. I think for the year ahead, just as we were in this year, we will most likely, if something doesn't just change a little bit for this year, we will find ourselves back in front of you at some point saying that numbers are growing, we cannot reach the $4 and we're looking for additional funding.
That's not a bad problem to have.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that is a challenge for this commission to deal with, that I'm glad that we didn't have to deal with that challenge. If something's growing that rapidly, people are benefiting from it. The craft trades of Texas are growing. We're actually able to build all the stuff that we need to build for all the new jobs that want to come here. I'll deal with that problem every time you want me to deal with it, as long as we're seeing that kind of positive growth. Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification, Chairman, as well.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Any other conversation?
No comments on questions from me.
Is there a motion?
Well, I don't have a motion at this time due to the request that I had for staff.
The staff on the research? I'm sorry.
Correct.
I believe Commissioner Trevino, the request is to do a sample of if we move to performance-based for this year and report back what that would look like.
Okay, that would be fine.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll table this and bring it back at a following commission meeting once staff's had a chance to do that research in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
We'll be ready. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for that.
What if I skip to the next one and didn't call? You
I'll go
weren't
back to
gonna
my
care.
seat.
You weren't gonna care, were you? You were just gonna start right in. Well, I guess we're on agenda item 16, the Texas Workforce Commission Strategic Plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2029.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, my name is Jennifer Kohlhauer with the Office of Strategy Development and Business Transformation. Before you today for consideration is the Texas Workforce Commission Strategic Plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2029 for submission to the Office of Governor and the Legislative Budget Board pending commission approval this morning. Texas Government Code Chapter 2056 requires strategic planning for all state agencies. Though the plan covers a 5-year period, the plans are reviewed and updated every 2 years, aligning with our 2-year state budget cycle. Part 1 of the plan contains TWC's mission, vision, and philosophy, which have not had any changes compared to the current plan, a message from the executive director, TWC goals and action items, which currently do not have any changes from the current plan. And they focus on 3 goals: thriving employers, skilled workforce, and exceptional customer service. Agency overview incorporates an internal assessment, recent state legislation, and recent federal legislation. And Part 1 concludes with redundancies and impediments. Part 2 contains the required supplemental schedules, including TWC's budget structure, which there were no changes, performance measure definitions, which were no changes, the historically underutilized business plan, TWC's workforce plan, a section on alignment with Texas Workforce System Strategic Plan for fiscal years 24 to 2031 with the Texas Workforce Investment Council. Report on customer service and certification of compliance with cybersecurity training will also be included. Before I conclude, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge all those who are supporting and contributing to the strategic plan this cycle, including you and your staff. Staff requests approval of the strategic plan before you today and also request the ability to make non-substantive edits as we format the plan for publication and submission. And that concludes my presentation.
Comments or questions?
No comments.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move to adopt the Texas Workforce Commission Strategic Plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2029 for submission to the Office of the Governor and the Legislative Budget Board.
I second.
It's been moved second, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
Jennifer is a valuable member of my staff, but I think this might be the first time that I recall her actually standing at the microphone to present to you all. I didn't want that to not get mentioned. I think she, deserves some attention.
Well, that's an excellent point, Mr. Cerna.
I do believe I was here last year.
Yeah.
First time with me.
Yeah, same room. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything
Point taken.
against
On
Jennifer.
cross-examination, she has presented evidence that she was here at this exact same time last year.
Yeah, she's a good attorney.
She sometimes too good. Isn't that true? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see no evidence of a legislative report lurking back there.
No, sir, no
Is
ties.
there an executive director's report today?
Just one item. We do have a star award to recognize one of our employees. There she comes. Get a presentation on it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, I'm Christina Carnes. I'm the Director of the TWC Appeals Department. It is my pleasure today to be able to present you a Star Award winner from the Appeals Department. Ron Mackel. Ron is an Assistant Director in the Appeals Department and receiving an award for his implementation and expansion of a legal internship program that has drawn statewide attention to various legal opportunities at TWC. As you may know, due to low unemployment rates and our great Texas economy, we are always looking for ways to recruit the best candidates for legal positions across the agency. Ron had an innovative idea of taking the existing internship opportunities within appeals and other departments in the agency and expanding them into an interdepartmental rotation program that would maximize exposure to legal interns to receive various legal positions within the agency. Last summer, students from around the country experienced the TWC corporate culture firsthand by participating in the program that included appeals, the Office of the General Counsel, and all three commissioner offices. Ron facilitated the program from beginning to end and built collaborative relationships with many departments within TWC, including Human Resources, the Office of the General Counsel, all the commissioner offices, and the Media Productions Department. Many of these relationships were built through Ron's outgoing and positive personality and his propensity to show up bearing donuts and a smile. Ron pushed the internship job postings to law schools, coordinated interviews and applicant selections with other offices, and planned numerous activities for the interns. He arranged guided visits to the state capitol, the Texas Supreme Court, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and the Governor's Appointment Office. They also attended the internship conference last summer. He coordinated agency training sessions and provided mentoring and guidance to the interns, facilitating both their personal growth and insights to help them develop their skills as future lawyers. Ron conducted videotaped mock interviews with the interns and worked further with the media production department to ensure each student left TWC with a professional headshot. He coordinated a farewell luncheon and worked with the Office of the General Counsel and the commission offices, particularly Norma Allen in OGC and Kimberly Watson in the chairman's office, to ensure a successful conclusion to the internship. Each intern gave an end of program PowerPoint presentation highlighting their time at TWC and making a specific recommendation for one rapid process improvement. Representatives from UT, Texas A&M, and Tulane Law Schools attended the event in person, And there were representatives from several other law schools, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and many parents who viewed the presentations online in real time. There was an informal morning VIP coffee and donuts before the presentations because you just really can never have too many donuts. And along with that, there was also an afternoon luncheon, which provided the interns a final opportunity to network with many supervisors and directors within TWC. The success of the internship program has led to continued outreach to law schools and lawyers and has helped us receive an increasing number of qualified applicants for legal positions within the agency. Ron has attended recruiting events at several law schools since the internship concluded and has been approached by both students and staff because they heard such great things about the program from our former interns. The internship program continues this summer with Commission Appeals joining the rotation, and the Civil Rights Division is also going to be joining us for some of the group activities. The Appellate Services Division is excited to see what the future holds for this great program, and we are very proud of Ron's innovative approach to developing a strong legal internship and recruiting program for the agency. Thank you for your time today.
Mr. Chairman, that's all that since I didn't do anything, that's all that I have to report. We'll take pictures after you adjourn.
I've got comments to add to Ron Field.
I'll pile on. You
Great. I've got some prepared comments from staff, and I think that that's what I'm talking about, Ron. That's what I'm talking about, Ron. Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. And Ron, thank you for your initiative in taking on such a great challenge. And I think that is just you're spearheading the recruitment of a lot of great talent, and you've identified our best resource, which is, our attorneys and their expertise as mentors. So I really appreciate. And this is my first summer having one of our office summer league interns participate. I'm excited to bring them aboard and excited to continue to guide them. I've heard a lot of great things about this innovative program. I appreciate you for all the work you've done. Congratulations on the board.
And I too, just congratulations, Ron. I mean, it's well-deserved. Last year, our summer interns were boasting about all the activities that they did and how much fun and how much they learned, which is important. And your dedication to that program is unexceptional. Just for the record, as a connoisseur of donuts, I never got any donuts from your side. So.
You bring up an interesting point, Commissioner. I too never received any donuts. We'll ask for all appropriate investigations into that situation. In a lot of ways, I have a lot of sympathy for you because last summer's interns were just an absolutely fun bunch. And for you to be able to top that this summer is going to be very, very challenging. So best of luck to you on that endeavor. Awards well-deserved. This internship is picking up speed. I actually, although in, what's today, Kim? The 30th, 29th? In 14 days, I will no longer have a law student. I will have a sort of a person waiting to take the bar exam. It's actually talked about on campuses, the things we're doing here. And there is one student from that law school who actually has chosen a career being a state government lawyer over a private sector firm because she just thinks it ultimately being more rewarding. So all we can do in that regard, I think we are actually doing things to strengthen government. So congratulations, great award. Looking forward. I don't like to take pictures, but I'm going to take some pictures with you as soon as this is over. I got a couple of things for Ed. Does anybody else have anything before I jump in?
Nothing here.
Okay. Two requests. First request is for staff to bring forward a comprehensive proposal with any necessary initiatives to have TWC stand up a healthcare staffing initiative to help address the healthcare staffing shortage that we're seeing in Texas right now. The second request is for staff to bring forward recommendations for 40 TAC Chapter 815. That's the marketplace contractor rule, of any necessary updates and changes that they think should be made to that rule at this time. Is there any other order of business come before the commission? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
It's been moved, seconded to adjourn, and we're adjourned.